from your local election headquarters, this is The Insiders with Dave Price.
If this year's a change election, then voters would be making major changes. Since 2009, Republican Kim Reynolds has been state senator, then lieutenant governor, then governor. In 1959, Republican Chuck Grassley became state representative, then he was U.S. representative, then U.S. senator. That's 76 years in office combined for these two. We sat down with David Yepsen, who covered Iowa politics for nearly half a century, for some perspective this week. Here's what he says has his attention right now.
The Senate race. Grassley's supposed to be cruising to another term. He probably will win, but Franken is doing much better than people expected. Even the old polls, they're out of date now. The registered poll had him within 8 points of Grassley. Grassley's never been in a race like this, and so
he had to work that first one.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, after he got
right?
Elected. But even there, he won pretty comfortably. And so that's what stands out is, you know, your political brain is saying that Grassley's going to win this thing. It's a Republican state now. But people are also in a bad mood, and you hear too many people saying, you know, he's been there long enough. And Franken's advertising, and you know the Grassley people are worried, Dave, because they're running attack ads against Franken. Campaigns don't do that. Grassley hasn't done that in past campaigns. He's just, you know, been on his lawnmower and doing the warm and fuzzy ads. And so I think that stands out as one of few things to watch.
What's your experience tell you about a candidate's age? So you have Grassley, 89, Biden's 80, talking about running again. We'll see if Trump runs again. He's about 75 or so. Does the age matter? You have Republicans making fun of Biden. There have been some videos where Biden looks confused about stuff. You can find stuff about Trump where he has things that don't make any sense. Like, does age matter?
Yes. Since I'm getting older, I understand. You slow down a little bit. You have those senior moments they call where you forget somebody's name or something. Well, that's part of aging. But in a campaign and in a debate, it can look real bad. And the other thing to remember, Dave, is Iowa's got one of the oldest electorates in the country. And I ran into this back in the 1980 campaign when Reagan was running. And
when they thought back then he was old.
Yeah. You know, and that was one of the issues. He's too old. And you would talk to activist Republicans, and you would get that from older Republicans. And one lady told me one time, she said, I'm his age and I'm too old. And so in other words, every older person in Iowa is looking at this race through their own experience. And, you know, am I up for the job? Could I do this? Is it physically possible for me to do it? They may like a candidate. They certainly have loved Chuck Grassley over the years. But he's about one senior moment away from having a real problem.
So what's different about Mike Franken? Why is it that Republicans are treating this race differently? What's changed?
You know, Dave Kochel, who is a very respected Republican political operative, was quoted as saying, "This is a biography we've not encountered before."
Talking about Franken.
Franken. So that to me capsulized the Republican problem. How do you get your hands on Franken? Comes out of rural Northwest Iowa, which is a Republican territory, big family, working class guy, worked his way up to the top echelons of the U.S. Navy. So lots of boxes he checks. Rural, military. These have usually been ways Republicans can outflank and attack Democrats. So they're having trouble, you know, getting their hands on how to deal with him. And I don't think they're I don't think the Democrats nationally are treating Franken as well as they could. When you have Chuck Schumer sort of essentially writing Iowa off, that sends a bad signal to Iowa Democrats. And you know, this could be one, you always wake up after the election, geez, how come we didn't see that coming? The other thing that the off year In 1984, Tom Harkin beat Roger Jepsen in the face, Republican Roger Jepsen in the face of the Reagan landslide. There's still an ability Iowans have to split tickets, especially at the top of the ticket. And so you could have a rural Republican who is saying, or ordinarily would be a reliable Republican voter, and saying, geez, you know, I like Chuck, but boy, he's just been there too long.
To me, when you go to these large Republican gatherings for years, when Chuck Grassley came up there, he probably got the biggest ovation. That seems like that's transitioned to Governor Kim Reynolds now. Mm-hmm. And she seems to be the face of the party in Iowa. How did she become that?
Well, I think she's been very attentive to her conservative base. She's been more partisan than other governors have been. But she's, it's a new era, and as we've said, and so she's firing up the base of the Republican Party. And she's kind of more the future of the Republican Party. Everybody knows this is going to be Grassley's last run, win or lose. So the world has kind of moved on.
So why is this? She had a very competitive race 4 years ago with Fred Hubbell, her Democratic challenger. And in fact, if you remember how that night went, Hubbell was ahead until Northwest Iowa started getting those late returns in and pushed her over the top. Why does this not seem competitive? We don't see Deidre DeGier up with campaign ads. We don't see a bunch of money coming in from elsewhere. She doesn't have the staff, the organization, the money, all those kind of things that you might typically see. She can't self-fund like Fred Hubbell. But what's missing there for Democrats?
Well, I think the first problem is, you know, it's like when you were a kid in high school sports. The coach would always tell you, if you don't think you can win, you won't win. Democrats don't think they can win, particularly influential Democrats and Democrats with some money. Yeah, write the checks. And that sort of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy then. And I think, you know, we elect governors. Go back and look at the list of governors. Where do they come from? Eagle Grove, Boone, Lake Mills. You go down through the list of governors in Iowa, and they all come from small towns. Yeah. And so here you got a Des Moines Democrat. She's never held a major public office. She has run for a statewide office. Again, if you go back and look at Iowa political history, governors all have had a major public office. Ray didn't hold elective public office, but he was a state Republican chairman, so he was had that for a base. And so, you know, Democrats, this formula of getting a liberal Polk County Democrat who never held office before and offer them as a candidate for governor, just as a formula that does not work.
So what about some wild cards here? How big will, especially since Roe versus Wade decision here, essentially the Roe versus Wade decision, getting rid of it, and the push for what Governor Reynolds wants to do when it comes to schools, whether it'll be some kind of voucher system, whatever, to help more kids go to private schools. Those two issues, it feels like Democrats think they can do something with that. You got Republicans on the other side going inflation, crime, border security here. What wins out? Because we've always been taught kind of intuitively it's the pocketbook stuff, right?
Right.
So can Democrats overcome the pocketbook stuff?
I think they can make it closer, and but that's one of the wild cards about this cycle. We're seeing the repeal of Roe by the Supreme Court has injected an element in politics we have never seen before. And does it inspire people to come into the electorate? We sort of assume that the pro-life forces and the evangelicals over the years have found their people and gotten them to the polls. But now you have younger women and women generally, and even men who maybe didn't really care. They took this for granted. And so are they energized to turn out at the polls? There's some anecdotal evidence from Democrats that they are being able to mobilize some people. But will it be enough? At the same time that's going on, Republican registrations in the state continue to go up. And I just think the big backdrop is to this election is Iowa, like much of rural America, is becoming more Republican. You know, could Harry Truman get elected in Missouri? Could J.W. Fulbright get elected in Arkansas today? I mean, I think rural America, blue-collar America, has become Republican, much to the frustration of Democrats. But we're in red communities and blue communities, and so all that leaves Iowa Democrats, I think, in a real bind.
And a lot of those younger people have left those smaller towns.
That's right. We're all moving to be with our various tribes, and so you have young people who go to the big city, who go to the coast, go to Texas. Businesses go into those communities. They're dynamic, and that sort of leaves Iowa with a fairly stable population, older people, and it may be changing demographics some, arrival of immigrants and Latino voters, but it's not enough to change the complexion of the electorate.
You still follow this stuff, but do you miss not being in the middle of it?
Oh, I don't miss that. I mean, you know, you can have the drive back from Sioux City on Sunday night after covering a rally. Anytime
trying to
you
make
want,
deadline?
Dave. Yeah, you can have that part. I don't miss that.
Coming up, he has a prediction about one of these two. But first, the attention that Iowa's 3rd district received.